Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. And today we have an amazing guest, Miss Cindi Howson. How are you, Cindi?
I'm great, Andrew. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. As you can see, I'm floating in the clouds.
Yes, it's a colorful cloud.
Kind of like Jesus and his technical, what is it? Jason and his technical dream coat. It's Andrew and his technical clouds.
There you go. It's the rainbow cloud, the psychedelic cloud.
Exactly. I'm one of the rainbow people now. There you go. It's my new role. So lovely to see you, and thanks for coming on the show today. And whereabouts are you joining us from today then?
I am joining you from New Jersey, northeastern New Jersey, the snow mecca of the world at the moment.
New Jersey, that's near New York, isn't it? Is that right?
It is New York. It is near New York. It's about an hour northwest. And as my Yorkshire husband reminds me.
Oh, like, Yorkshire.
Yes. What kind of frozen tundra did I bring him to?
See, look, you see, I can put my hat on. See what?
Yeah, there you go.
Hat on.
Perfect for walking on the moors, no doubt.
Exactly, yeah, with the dog and with the
when sandwiches. It's raining and misty.
When it's kind of wild and raining, exactly. That's right. Yeah. Let's have you on the show, and we'll come back to why you married to a Yorkshireman. Obviously, they are the kind of salt of the earth, but that's for me later on in the episode.
We haven't even had a gin and tonic, and you're going there. Give me a break.
Yeah, but you see, that's why I asked you what time zone you're in. You see, because it's actually, the time zone you're in now. You should actually be having a cup of tea, or maybe a cappuccino or espresso. But gin and tonic in the morning, Cindi. We'll be going. Yes. We need to talk to Cindi. She's drinking gin and tonic in the mornings. Yeah, we're a bit worried about her.
Well, I do have some gin lined up because I didn't know what you were going to ask me.
Oh, really? What? Oh, go on. Show me that. Have you got a little collection? What your favorite gins? Oh, here we go.
The Grey Whale gin.
Okay.
Because this was a gift from my daughter, who's a marine biologist in Monterey. So it's fantastic. Got like Big Sur, juniper, whatever, fermented in that. But
okay.
There you go.
Is there any more down there? Any more down in your little collection that you want to show us?
No, that's enough. Not knowing, so I do recognize, I understand that gin sales in the UK for at home topped £1 billion in revenues last year.
I thought you were going to say last month. I thought you were going to say last month.
Did you know this? No. It's probably December only. But I'm more of a wine drinker, so I had my favorite wine glass.
Okay. Where's that
Big
from?
Apple,
Big Apple.
Hand painted. Yeah.
Nice.
There you go.
Are we in your kind of bar area or something? We're having a podcast episode in your bar. It's like a corner bar.
We'll have to change rooms for that.
Okay. Okay. So just to let you know, viewers, and obviously if you're watching on YouTube, but obviously if you're listening to on Spotify, if it goes silent for a few minutes, that means that Cindi has just gone off camera and had a sneaky gin and tonic, sneaky whale gin and tonic.
There you go.
So I suppose to kick off the episode, quick question: what gets you up in the morning these days?
Well, my alarm clock.
Really?
Full alarm clock. Oh yeah, I'm not using my iPhone unless I have to get up earlier. No, I mean, still being on a mission to help businesses, organizations really use data better, faster, everywhere. And I almost left this space when I went back to business school.
You can't do that. It's not allowed. It's not allowed, Cindi. It's not allowed.
Yep. But it's been a passion of mine I'm scared to say it, for more than 25 years now. And I only know that date because I remember when I got married and that we had just started this data warehousing project.
Okay.
Yeah. So more than 25 years.
You mean you're saying you had a data warehouse at your wedding? No? Oh, no.
No. Actually, date has been banned. My husband has said at least on our anniversary day. I don't want to hear that word, but now you hear it on the news every day, right? So
it's like the taboo. It's a taboo word.
Yeah. exactly.
Well, you see, that's why my backdrop is it's like data you see in the cloud, yeah, floating around the ether, yeah. That was why I kind of chosen I personalized this episode so we could specifically talk about data in the cloud.
Data
and then who do we speak to? The Chief Data Cloud Officer. Exactly. Whoa. So do you have kind of like so some of my guests talk about their morning routine and how they boost out of bed and do 10 million press ups and want a finger and then run 10 marathons and then have 10 cappuccinos and then etc. Do you have any hacks or morning routine that you do that help you to have a great day?
I'm going to sound really lazy because I am not a morning person, and I may think, oh, come on, Cindi, get up and go for a run first thing in the morning. But there's just no way. I might do that if I'm in a different time zone, like on the West Coast. So my body clock is 3 hours ahead. But if I'm going to work out, it's going to be in the evening or afternoon. In the morning, no, I need a slow cup of coffee, and I call it pregame. So the soft work before I really.
I thought we were getting back to drinking. Then I thought you were going to say slow gin.
I know everyone. Yeah, it's not. You can pregame for work, not just tailgating.
What's a slow cup of coffee? What's the slow cup of coffee? Then what's that? Is that a
well? I have the news. I have the news on, and then I'm checking urgent Slack messages. But then it's like social media, LinkedIn posts. So seeing what's happening, Twitter, seeing what's happening, both in our very exciting tech world. I'm usually checking.
Do you have like a command center with like 10 screens and around? It's a bit like, it's a bit like the Social Dilemma. It's like you've seen all these feeds coming in.
Yeah, there's the TV, the iPhone, and the iPad. And I got all going at the same time, but it's not like mission critical work. And so I call it pregame. But this is sometimes how I've heard about a merger and acquisition before even certain employees have heard. So.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. You get on the short list. You get on the kind of special list. Yeah. Quick, ring Cindi. She needs to know. Quick.
Yeah, nowadays they probably keep that secret from me at the larger level.
You don't. So that thing. I suppose that thing about turning notifications off. You don't do that then. Do you do that?
Yeah, I do. Oh, listen. I mean, I work with a lot of millennials now or Gen X's, and they're always on. And I would imagine or understand if I frustrate them because I have notifications always off, always. It's the only way I can complete a thought or write something. So, and I'm not checking email or messages after a certain time at night because it's hard enough for me to turn my brain off. So I don't want to be thinking about that hairy problem just as I'm going to bed.
So when you check the text messages, you've got like 10 text messages saying, have you not got this? Have you not got this? Have you not got this? That's the thing is it's this kind of instant thing, isn't it? Yeah.
The text is probably the only sure way to get a hold of me if it's urgent. But even now, I don't know about you, but my phone is on silent. I'm not going to look at it. And then afterwards, I might forget to put it back on loud. So
you definitely won't go back to it if you've had a gin and tonic after this episode. I mean, you'll be having
I'll be on more coffee, trust me.
So in terms of the kind of things that you're working on these days, then I know you've had some interesting things that you've done in your backstory. I mean, could you explain to the audience some of the things that you've done? Because as I admitted when we spoke before, that many years ago, actually, when I was working in a very big business, we used to use some of the stuff that you wrote about as being like the gospel. So it was like the sermon according to Cindi. It's interesting. It's interesting to meet you today and I've spent some time with you because it was like, without knowing you, but then we were actually reading what you wrote and basically taking your recommendation and implementing it in big businesses. So that's just to let you know, that's my little secret out now. I told you.
Okay. So was that BI Scorecard or was that Gartner?
It was, more BI Scorecard, actually. I think, right. Yeah. Obviously, I know you, yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's true.
I appreciate that. I'm going to have to send you a classic BI Scorecard teddy bear. I might actually.
You got some swag?
Golf balls went. Oh, yeah, I still have swag. Yeah. We found it in a box. I thought we had depleted that, but I found some over the holidays in the basement. So,
is it still working? Is it still actually operational, that website? Then?
No. Gartner acquired the IP to that, so that all phased out.
So you remember a guy called is it Nigel Penzi? Remember Nigel Penzi?
Oh, I know Nigel. Yes. How is he? Is he still around?
I don't know, but so he came into our office in GE. I was working at General Electric.
Right.
When Jack Welch was around, God rest his soul. And we had a meeting with Nigel Penzi, and then he talked about you, about, do you know Cindi, look at the stuff she's doing. And we were basically doing, big evaluation of different stuff. So it's so there you go. It's obviously easy.
Long time. History.
Exactly, yes. Carved in stone.
Yes. Can we finally kill OLAP, though, please?
Well, that's what he was famous for, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, the OLAP report. Remember, Nigel?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, no. So yeah, that's. I mean, if, for people that don't probably wondering what Andrew and Cindi are talking about, what would be? How would you explain that to somebody today about what we were doing then and why we were doing it?
Yeah. So I kind of think of the 3 chapters of my career. The first one, chapter 1, was Dow Chemical.
Okay.
Working as a BI tool standards leader and doing other things. I was originally a Novell network engineer. I met Nigel for the first time in the UK. At Dow, we were trying to figure out what should we do and hoping that SAP would have a better answer for us, which took a long time. And then chapter 2, so this was when I was saying to you, I almost debated leaving the BI analytics and data space, was when I went back to school. I went back to get my MBA in Texas, Rice University.
Okay.
And came out of that thinking, no, I know the tech and now I know the business better. And that is a really good combination. So that chapter 2 was really a lot of consulting, a lot of industry analysts. So BI Scorecard was about comparing the BI tools based on hands-on testing, but it was also about how to have a bigger impact with data. And that was a series of books that I wrote. And then I joined Gartner in 2015, really to bring some of the discipline and depth of research from BI Scorecard. That really became the critical capabilities research note. And the IT score maturity model was part of the business impact side of things. So that was chapter 2. Chapter 3, you've been in the tech industry and worked for many tech companies. So
surely not.
You might call it the dark side. I'll call it the making things happen side. So joined Thoughtspot April 2019. So coming up on 2 years. And I think about, rather than just reporting and advising customers, it's actually influencing the product strategy, but working with our customers who are at the leading edge of innovation. And great brands, from the UK, British Telecom, the US organizations like Verizon, Walmart, just really blessed to work with some of the most disruptive companies around the world.
Some big names.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting though. So it sounds like you've actually worked, because Dow Chemical, obviously a very, very famous chemicals company, yeah? And actually, when I was at SAP, actually, they were, because I actually worked for SAP. I was the one that was saying, don't send that stuff to Cindi. Make us suffer. No, I'm joking. No, Dow Chemical was obviously a very famous SAP customer.
Very early, yeah. R2 global implementation. None of this. Let's have 7
on the mainframe. On the mainframe. On the mainframe, yeah. So but then you obviously moved to, you could say, a kind of like a consulting stroke analyst role in the stuff you did there about advising people, and then you've gone to working for a software company, effectively. Thoughtspot's a software company, isn't it? So it's like you've been around. You've now got experience in different lenses, I suppose.
Yeah. I think of it, my dad used to say there's 3 types of people: those who make things happen. And I would say at Dow, I was making things happen. Those who watch things happen, which I would kind of say that was chapter 2. And those who say, what the hell happened? Now, I would say chapter 3 is some days I might say, what the hell happened? But I like to think of it as making things happen across the industry, rather than for one.
Or you could use, Larry Ellison's definition. Obviously, I'm not saying Larry Ellison is your father, but Larry Ellison's definition is either people who make stuff or people who sell stuff, and everybody else is superfluous.
Okay, interesting.
But that's probably,
what about the people who use the stuff, who buy the stuff? They're not.
Yeah, but you know what Larry's like.
He's customer in that.
Larry likes saying things that are kind of like, kind of make people stand up and say, "What?"
Tweetable.
Yeah.
Is that the same Larry that said, "I don't get this cloud thing. It's not real. It's hype"?
Yeah, but I have to admit, in the tech industry, and obviously we both spent a bit of time in the tech industry. There are some characters. And, to give him 10 out of 10 or 12 out of 10 or 15 out of 10, Larry has consistently been entertaining. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe you should like be a tech comedian or something like that. But,
yes,
a billionaire tech comedian. But he's very amusing with the things he comes out with. He comes out with things that, I don't want to go political, but something analogous. He kind of makes comments that are analogous to maybe some other people that have recently been in office. I'm not saying quite as bad as that, but
I think you need to get off this track, Andrew.
No, that's fine. It's fine. No, but what I'm saying is that the having characters, having people who have got personality and actually got a point of view. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that sometimes people don't say anything. And I think sometimes it's always appropriate for somebody to say something rather than nothing. That's all. Right.
As long as it's useful. I think some people say things just to be a mouthpiece when maybe there should be more restraint. And then sometimes they're quiet and silent when they shouldn't be.
We're being very polite now. You see, we've been very British.
I know. I'm thinking, who do I wish would be more quiet as a tech leader?
You surround. Well, yeah, that's a question for you then. Who do you think should be more quiet as a tech leader? Okay, we'll move on from that question. No, so that's interesting. So you, to your point, you spent time actually working on building things, making things. Effectively doing something within a business that wasn't a technology company, but actually you had to use technology to make chemicals and actually be successful as a business. I mean, why did you leave there and go into what you did with you mentioned the BI Scorecard and everything like that. Why did you leave and go into something like that? What was the appeal of doing that?
Yeah. Well, you also talk about the highs and the lows. And
peaks and valleys, yeah.
Yeah, or peaks and valleys. And, something happened at Dow. I would say, you could almost say I was at the peak, or not the peak, because I don't remember how old I was, maybe 30 years old. Mm-hmm. But we had just completed this awesome project, and even the global data warehouse was credited with helping Dow achieve some synergies of a merger and acquisition faster than what Wall Street was anticipating. So it was huge. It was in the
CEO report kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, great. And we were blazing new trails. Now, I also, my daughter was born in Switzerland, and we moved to Texas, and there was a lot of movement in the organization because Dow was outsourcing a lot of work to Andersen Consulting at that time. And so I had to decide, am I more a tech person or more a business person? And I had always worked, I was that dreaded shadow IT, working business, but doing whatever they wanted technology-wise. And I felt like I deserved this particular job, a promotion really, and I didn't get it. And it was in a way devastating. And I had a hard lesson to learn. And there was a woman who pulled me aside. She said, well, we didn't know, the higher ups never knew you did all this work. Like you didn't tell, you didn't toot your own
You're too quiet.
Yes, too quiet. And I do, it's still a lesson that I've had. I am still learning this, but it hurt me deeply. And I was like, I always wanted to go back to school anyway, because I did feel like I needed to round out my business knowledge. I was an English major as an undergraduate. So it kind of was a forcing function for me to reassess. And I learned, I still say that was the best investment, the best 2 years I ever invested in myself. It changed my career, my way of thinking.
You mean doing your MBA, you mean?
Yeah,
doing your master's.
Yeah. And it's not the degree that matters. It's what I learned there about power and politics, negotiation, that I think is really, really key, building coalitions. But So when you did your MBA, though, thanks for sharing that. When you did your MBA, what you're saying is you were thinking about, using that as a way to, I know people call it pivot, to change direction. But then you didn't really change direction. You just went back into the same kind of area, but you actually had a different confidence, or you had a different kind of perspective on things. Is that right? Yeah, a different take about how to really solve business problems with data and analytics. And keep in mind, so this is 1999. The internet was just getting started.
Hey, we're gonna put some Prince songs on there.
Yes. Yeah. Everyone else was focused on Y2K, thinking that was going to be the thing. And yet I'm looking at the internet and the way this is actually going to democratize and ease the distribution of data and the software that you really needed to analyze the data. And so so I joined Deloitte in Texas, and then really started my own business, BI Scorecard, shortly after that. Yeah.
The Millennium Bug, the biggest kind of like marketing exercise in the history of this IT industry.
Well,
everything's going to stop.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
People were afraid. You don't know what you don't know. But it did force people to clean up and modernize some things. A little bit like the pandemic, we could say, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 20 years later. Yeah. So you call it the BI Scorecard, and I suppose you were doing. So that was your first venture into actually having your own business. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you were like an entrepreneur, creating creating an asset that then people would subscribe to. I think that's what you did. It was like a subscription business, wasn't it?
Yeah, and really it started. I did different consulting for a range of clients around the U.S. And I also was teaching for the Data Warehousing Institute. And one of the courses I taught was evaluating BI tools and really managing your portfolio. So it was about when to invest and when to divest. We still don't do enough divesting, really.
Yeah.
And so the BI Scorecard then was a comparison of the strengths and weaknesses of leading products.
But it must have been quite funny, though. If you think about it, because I remember it'd be the thing where probably all the software companies were all like, we better look after Cindi, otherwise we'll get a bad rating. Quick, send us some flowers. Send us some flowers.
Oh no, that would be the biggest mistake. Somebody did send me flowers, and I had to donate them. No, to me, one of the reasons why I joined Gartner is the pace of change, because to me, the hands-on testing is what helped me get beyond the marketing hype and understand what the true differences were.
So you actually truly evaluated all these different products and okay.
But it's a bandwidth issue. It became a bandwidth issue. And I had different partners. We would partner on some things. So Mike Ferguson, Jos van Dongen, and I worked on some things.
Colin White.
I think with the Pentaho evaluation at that time. So, and
Legends.
Mike and I wrote the first cloud note together. So,
all right.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I bet it wasn't a multicolored cloud like I've got in my backdrop.
No, it was not pure black and white at that point.
But you said so you were actually, so if you think about it, it's an interesting thing there. You create a new business model, you create a subscription business, because I remember lots of companies subscribe to your ratings then, don't you? So if you think about if you think about that, the foundations of what you built there as a business. Yeah, it's not dissimilar to what some people are doing now with tech companies, is it?
Yeah, and guess what? It was agile, continuous releases, monthly updates.
What? You mean you didn't use waterfall? You should use waterfall. That's the future.
Oh yeah, please.
No, but it's funny, isn't it? It's funny how
I didn't think of it that way. Here I'm just trying to provide something useful to people.
No. What we're saying is that if you decompose and you abstract the things you built, it's actually analogous to having a subscription economy. Like what Salesforce has done with CRM. They were in 1999 when they launched Salesforce. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hadn't thought of that.
You are the queen.
It that way.
You are the queen of the subscription economy.
Should I go tell our CRO that? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, definitely. You were incubating the ideas 20 years ago. Come on, catch up. Come on.
Well, I used to say I had one favorite software vendor because they only had a new release every 3 years. Talk about getting leverage off one evaluation.
Yeah, you'd be bankrupt, wouldn't you?
Let's go back. Yeah.
Yeah, the one just to declare one that we actually used at GE, which I thought was actually ahead of its time, was a company in Ipswich. Can you guess who it was? Ipswich in the UK.
Oh.
Began with H.
Oh, with H? No, I was going to think, did Excelsius? Oh, Hollows?
Mm-hmm.
I remember Hollows, yeah.
Holistic Systems. Yeah.
Well, so we did at Dow, we evaluated that. There was a lot of code required to get that working. So we didn't go that route. But wow, I pulled that out of the memory banks.
Exactly. It's like a quiz, isn't it? It's like this is the cloud data quiz for software.
Okay. Yeah, but Andrew,
and our next contestant
under the age of 30 is going to say who?
Our next contestant, come on down, Cindi Howson. Right, we're going to. What is? It was a very good platform. It was way ahead of its time, anyway. But that's a bit of a techie history there. Me and my friend from GE, we actually built an application in a factory. We were working in a factory, in a back room in a factory in GE, and we rolled it out to 20 countries. And there was 2 of us in it. This was a very agile team. There's only 2 of us in the whole project team. And then one guy who was the product manager at Holistic Systems, who was a Scottish guy, who was a legendary guy. But it's amazing it's amazing if you get the right people together, what you can create.
Yes. Yeah. It is, I was actually interviewing the Thoughtspot co-founder and chairman of the board, Ajit Singh, this week for a podcast.
Oh, right. Okay. Fantastic.
And I was asking him some of his secrets because he's a serial entrepreneur. And he did say it's really about the team, the right team.
Yeah.
You can accomplish anything.
Exactly. Nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
Is he a technical guy or is he a business guy? Or is he a bit of both?
Both. I think when you're at that level, you're all of the above.
But he was an engineer originally, though, was he? Or
he was, yeah. Yep.
Okay. See, we're all engineers. We're all engineers. See, at the end of the day.
I'm not an engineer. English major.
Okay, sorry.
I recently learned. Wait, is it Tom Davenport or Randy Bean? One of them, maybe both of them, were English majors, or maybe.
Oh, was he?
Oh, so Randy Bean, English major, Tom Davenport, sociology, which I think that was my minor in undergraduate. And I was like,
but Tom
there's
Davenport,
no money in it.
Yeah, but that's why he does. Tom Davenport does what he does now. He writes legendary books and works for Babson College, I think, doesn't he? Or lectures at Babson College.
Guest lecturer at Oxford, your side of the pond now, Andrew.
Is he? Yeah, but you can't. We're not letting anybody on the island. We've locked all the island down now. There's nobody. Even your husband would not be able to come back to Yorkshire because you've got to show your passport. You've got to have 20 million jabs in your arm.
Oh, I heard June. Trust me, my kids were texting me last night. Like, they're going to open up June 4th. Can we get flights?
Yeah, booked? What year though?
You cannot complain. You guys are far ahead in your vaccine distribution. It's impressive.
Yeah.
That's
because we're so behind in everything else. We're trying to get credibility back now by doing this kind of turbo vaccine distribution model.
You must be from the north. I see the pessimist coming out in you.
You see the what? Sorry, coming out of me?
Pessimist.
Really? Pessimist? No. It's called dry humor, Cindy. It's called dry humor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called dry stone wall humor. Yeah. So in terms of what you do today, you said that you work with you mentioned lots of big companies. In fact, it's actually run and done, who's a very good ex-colleague, actually. Worked with him at Telefonica O2, and he's now the CEO of Verizon. He was on the podcast a few months ago. He's a very, very, very good guy. We found out that actually his second, we went to Ireland, went to Dublin because he's Irish, right? So we found out that if it doesn't work out as being CEO of Verizon, that he obviously could get a job being a tour guide around Dublin because he knew exactly where I was in Dublin on my little helicopter. You see, so
that's great.
It sounds like so you kind of go and help people. Well, you help organizations do what though today? What do you actually do? What would you say you do today? What
so it's a multifaceted role. There's things like this: the thought leadership, writing, speaking, host of the Data Chief podcast, and then there's.
You're a host as well. You're a host as well.
But you're more prolific.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Come on.
Yes.
So what's your podcast called? The Data Chief.
The Data Chief. Yeah.
Or rather, you swapped it around rather than Chief Data. You Data Chief.
Right. Because their title can be anything. They might.
It's like blah 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 Data Chief. Yeah. North American Indian.
No, that's not politically correct anymore. So.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm in the UK. I'm not in North America.
You have this habit of what were you asking me?
I was asking you what you did. What you did. What you were doing what was happening in Cindy's world in the stuff that you do with these big companies. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then with our top customers, it's really being a strategic advisor is similar to what I was doing at Gartner, but in a more, I would say, white gloved way. Gartner, it's half an hour and on to the next thing. So I will brainstorm with customers on how do they accelerate their cloud journey, or we'll talk about they have low data literacy, data fluency.
All right.
How do they address that? Or people change management? What's really holding them back, unlocking the value of data and analytics? And some of them have very bold goals. And I say these conversations are sacred because they'll be like, let me just run something by you. What do you think of this? And I feel so privileged to be on that journey with them. It's a very different role than we have a phenomenal head of customer success, Sun Park, who came from MongoDB. So it's not necessarily how do you succeed with ThoughtSpot. It's really how do you execute on your vision?
It's like strategy and planning stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not doing support tickets then?
Oh no. If somebody calls me, I mean, this is one of the things that attracted me to Thoughtspot was the culture, selfless excellence. It's always the team first, the customer first. But if a customer calls me, or even if they come up to me at a conference and say, I'm not happy about this, or I feel blocked,
right,
I will own that. And I think that's because I do understand also the technology. I was going deep with one customer on encryption at rest, disk encryption, or OS encryption, and trying to get that escalated and prioritized and see, is this a trend?
Right.
Or no, is it old school thinking? And maybe we shouldn't be doing that. So this is always what I will always be looking for as well, is how do we co-innovate with our customers, but then also sometimes telling customers no, because that is a step backward for them and it will drag us back when we're trying to help move them forward.
I suppose that's the thing about in a kind of an executive position. It's kind of you've got to go all in. You've got to actually be accessible. It's like how you manage that, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's interesting. So I suppose the funny thing is that I suppose you went from. I mean, Gartner is obviously, for people that don't understand who Gartner is. I don't know if you. Or how you? Well, I would describe Gartner as kind of like the guys that you go and talk to when you need some kind of check and balance about making a decision. Does it make sense? It's kind of like a strategy checkpoint. Is that a fair way of describing them?
Yes, and one of my former colleagues there actually described it as a security blanket.
Oh, really?
So I was like, all right, that's talking to the laggards, I think. But there is a check and balance. But I will say the other thing, so Gartner, you do a lot of inquiry calls, 30-minute calls, but you also do strategic advisory days, which were some of my best days, in part because that was my model at BI Scorecard. My consulting days were 1 or 2 days, not, these, let's say, the big consulting firms where it's months on the ground. And so in those strategic advisory days, it will be things like, how do we organize our BI team? Should we even have a center of excellence? And so when I was joining Thoughtspot and the executive team, the CEO, Sudesh, Scott, our CMO, and Ajit, our co-founder, chairman of the board, we were talking about, well, where can I add value? And I said, I do think working with customers is something that I'm really good at, passionate about, love to do. And this is an unusual role in the industry. But if we can do it and I can do it right, it's a win-win on both sides. So
I think it's gotten more important. I mean, because if you think about it, I don't know what your view is. Since 1999, it's just over 20 years. I know you're in the industry yourself, but don't you think data is getting more and more important? And there's a massive issue at the board level about actually helping build the capability to be in control and be ahead of the game to compete properly.
Yeah. And in fact, there's research from McKinsey that the leaders in this space are now, the distance between even the followers has widened. So right. Those that were data-driven 2 years ago, and you see it even in the pandemic, they have performed so much better. Some of our customers, no matter the industry, even in hard-hit travel, or in retail, really growing double digits because they're using data to outperform.
It's like I was on a session with Scott Galloway, the guy that wrote the 4 book, the NYU professor, Scott Galloway. He wrote a book called The 4. So he made a statement yesterday that I was on a session with, saying that Airbnb's market capitalization is equivalent to the next 8 airlines and hotel groups combined.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, not everyone is a digital native. So for Airbnb, great. They were born in the digital world. But do all these other companies who are not digital natives, how do they work like that? How do they get there? And it's more than just technology. But, and another person I greatly admire in this space, also an innovator, Jill Touche, who wrote, now I'm going to forget the name of her book. Can I see it over on my bookshelf? The New IT, or Reinventing IT, I think it was. But she did, in a way, a similar role for a tech company a few years ago. And it's tough because you straddle these worlds between sales and product and customer success. And then even customers are like, when can I use you and when can't I? But, those that I work with, it's great.
You mean when can they use what support from yourself? You mean
my
personally?
Advice, yeah. What exactly do I do? Because I don't support tickets.
But I suppose the thing I would say with you is because you've been in a real practical role, and then you've actually been in Gartner, which is obviously a highly respected organization, and the stuff you did with BI Scorecard, you were kind of like a guru. It's like having a chief guru officer inside Thoughtspot, isn't it? Because no, it isn't it. I mean, it's our chief genius officer. It's like. No, it is because the thing is that your tacit knowledge, the things that you know are obvious. The answer is X, the answer is Y. You know that, or you can, I suppose it's this thing about advising them to do the right thing. If you were back in Dow, you'd ideally like a Cindi to come in and talk to you and help you on what your strategy and plan would be. I suppose that's what I see what you're doing with these large customers.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So what is getting you excited these days? And what you were most excited about in 2021?
I am most excited about external data and data sharing that the cloud just makes possible in ways that we couldn't do before. So I look at newer data types. Let's say the last 20 years, everyone is really focused on getting their internal data house in order. And yet research from IDC says, well, that's only half of what you need. The external data, in a way, is now more valuable. Things like human mobility, image recognition, credit card transactions, and job hiring trends, not what you get a month after the fact from different governments, but really looking at job boards. That'll tell you which markets are recovering faster. That will inform a marketing person or a salesperson where they should be focusing their services.
So you say it's like data to actually have leading indicators rather than lagging.
Absolutely. Leading indicators and faster leading indicators.
Well, you see, I'll just let you know, you're going to have to pay a big price for my data because it's multicolored. Yeah. And it's all sat in my multiple clouds, you see, and being absorbing from all these buildings in London, which you can see behind me.
There you go. Well, thank goodness it's in the cloud, because if it was on premises, I wouldn't be able to share it, access it, or monetize it.
It's premium pricing. I'm not going to mention any cloud vendors on this episode because I'm trying to be unbiased.
Good.
But I know that Oracle's got a very good cloud solution, haven't you, Larry? Yeah. There you go. I'm trying to make up to Larry
now. Everyone can, just because you're late doesn't mean you can't further innovate. But for sure, look at how Snowflake is challenging Oracle, is challenging Amazon. Look at how Amazon is challenging IBM.
Maybe I should say. I should say. I should get. What about this then? If I get Arvind from IBM, and Larry on this podcast as a kind of a panel, that'd be entertaining, wouldn't it?
That would be, yes.
We could call it the Cloud Wars. Yeah. Boom.
There you go.
So what you're saying is you're excited about the kind of the progress of companies getting more holistic around what data they're using to make decisions.
Yeah, I think whole industries will be disrupted, not just by these leading indicators, But when you think about data across the whole value chain, it's no longer like you were saying, you're either making the product or selling the product. And I said, what about who's buying the product? Well, if you could connect all of those, just think about that across the whole value chain. You think about a retailer who's buying goods. What if they could share their data with the person making the product? Imagine how you would do supply chain,
make it more frictionless. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. So I think we're just at the start of that. And again, so I had a prediction that companies who do this well will outperform their competitors by double digits. So I think that's exciting. And then, I care a lot about tech for good, AI for good, data for good. And I think all the tragedies of 2020, hopefully, it's a good reset. Did I lose you there? Are you going for a gin bottle?
No. I mean, the thing I was just going to say was about when you say about tech for good. I mean, obviously, if you think about some of the stuff that's happened and this thing about data privacy and stuff like that, and data access, any perspectives on that? I mean, do you think that's going the right direction? Do you think actually through the stuff like the Social Dilemma film that happened last year that actually now people are going to start? Well, the awareness has obviously gone up, and I don't know.
Yes.
Is that? I presume that's a positive thing.
It is a positive thing. The negative side of it is that trust is at an all-time low. So there will be a reset about who you trust your data with. And if we don't share the data, then we can't use it for good. And if we don't recognize the biases in the data, and there's always biases in data and gaps in data, if we don't recognize that and fix that, then I have a fear. So you started with, what am I excited about? And I'm excited about data for good and tech for good and AI for good. What am I worried about is AI ethics and bias at scale, really.
Right. Okay.
Let's stay on the happy stuff first.
So what you say? Yeah. So what you're saying is that the kind of machines taking over the universe kind of thing.
Not taking over the universe, because you will always have human plus machine. Not taking over the universe, but that we don't realize the way things get automated, and there's bias in any algorithm, and there's bias in any data set. And if we don't notice it and correct it earlier in the process, I think it can be very dangerous. Right.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot more focus on that. I mean, one of my other guests actually is working with the World Economic Forum and some of the universities around that piece. And there's obviously quite a few NGOs. So Tanya Duarte, who's one of my very good friends, she's got an NGO called We in AI, which is looking at the kind of ethics and AI issues around that. And she's got some ex-tech kind of fellows from the industry working with her on some of that stuff, because it's complex. It's a complex cauldron of things to think about, different lenses you're going to look through.
It is. And for sure, the NGOs have been leading here, but without the expertise. So tech will throw money and technology. We're happy to give away the technology, but what's lacking is the expertise, the people, the talent skills. And so I hope that there will be a little more cross-pollination in bringing that expertise to bear on some of the hardest problems in the world. Healthcare, even in the pandemic, it's such a hard problem. And poverty and homelessness, education, these are some of the things I care about. So I think it's exciting, and I think there's progress, and I hope that 2020 will be a reset and an awakening that we can do better and we should do better.
And the tech firms have got to be part of that. They're not going away anymore. It's like, how do we How do we leverage them to the point you made about tech for good, rather than being seen as being intrusive and non-good?
Right.
So what? So, well, I didn't want to say that other word.
I said it. Okay. Data for good or data for evil. And I have to credit my colleague, Mark Byers at Gartner, who said, you should call it data for evil. And I'm like, I can't do that. But yeah.
If Gartner wrote a report or an analyst report called it data don't be evil, then everybody would probably buy that report just to find out what he's talking about.
Well, see, at Thoughtspot, I could title the blog that way. I have a little more freedom here.
Yeah. So I was going to converse to that. I mean, what given everybody's been going through this massive, crazy time, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful, for everything that I think we sometimes take for granted, whether it's family, health. I'm grateful for the technology that keeps us connected. Can you imagine if we didn't have the internet, what would we be doing, both work and education wise?
No, we'd be on. This wouldn't be on a video. We'd be on Clubhouse. We'd be doing an audio room on Clubhouse.
I didn't accept that Clubhouse invite. I don't know about that.
I've got some invites. I can send you an invite if you want.
No, I'm not sure I want it.
You can be then on your profile.
Party I don't mind not being invited to.
No, but then Cindy, you see, then Cindy, you'd say, because my handle on Clubhouse is the G&T sessions. So you'd be invited by the G&T sessions onto Clubhouse. You see, there you go.
All right, I'll see what kind of party it is. Maybe I'll try it. But I will also. I'm grateful to be. I have very dear friends. These book club ladies that now we've had a book club going for 20 years, and we've faced job loss, death, divorce, children getting married together, and they are my rock. If I look at my life, though, I'm grateful for my education, because I would not be where I am today without it, and my faith, because
I thought you were going to say you were going to be grateful for the whale gin as well.
Yes, the whale gin. I'm grateful for chocolate and white wine, definitely, and good coffee. Yes.
Oh, that's a very good answer. Thank you for that. I think maybe everybody's probably thought about the perspective on, or done a detox of what's important and what's not as important as they've been through the last period of time, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So in terms of your kind of what I would call pearls of wisdom, so you've obviously had you're still on your journey. You've had some interesting chapters, as you mentioned, your 3 chapters by your father. I mentioned your 3 chapters, and what. So in terms of looking at the future, what would be some of do you have any predictions or any view of the future that you'd like to share?
Well, I do hope so. If I think of Thoughtspot's mission, and then what is my mission as an individual. So Thoughtspot, we have a mission for a fact-driven world, and I do believe that a fact-driven world is a better world, a more equitable world. So I think getting there, we still have so much to do, where everyone understands, let's take the COVID case counts, everyone understands what it is and how to interpret it, or the pay gap. The UK is ahead in reporting on that. What does it really mean? Where does that data come from? What data is not collected? How do we use data to lie? So vanity metrics, there's things going on with...
but I think everybody likes the fake news driven, don't they? Let's all drive the world by fake news. Let's not have the facts.
Yeah. Well, Yeah. Does it, do you get more clicks? Maybe, but no, people like humor and they like honesty. So let's have real news, honest news, good news, and show where, the data is bad. So I'm optimistic about that. If I have a wish though, we have a lot as a society and as a tech industry to improve the diversity in tech. And if we don't do that, this exacerbates both inequities, but again, bias at scale. So what I really want is that everyone in the tech industry is more proactive about reaching out to those middle schoolers, because if you wait till high school, college, it's too late. They give up. I had an intern from a university, an HBCU university, tell me, look, I didn't even have a laptop till I got to college. Calculus wasn't even offered in my high school. How would I ever stand a chance getting hired at a tech company? And yet this woman is brilliant. And so believing in yourself, I think, is important. And we as leaders have to shift from assessing what school you went to, what skills you have, to what is your aptitude? What is your aptitude to learn? That's what I'm hopeful about.
So that's
profound.
Well, no, I mean, what about you? But if you don't define some what you would call BHAGs, yeah, big, hairy, audacious goals, then we're never going to get there, are we? So, I like the Thoughtspot mission. I mean, having a fact-driven planet, fact-driven economy, is that
fact-driven world? Yes,
fact-driven world, yeah. Because I think that's a good. It's a very understandable mission. Because I think there's been that thing where I mean, there's too many board meetings where you go to a meeting and they go, well, I've got my set of figures, I mean, you've got your set of figures, and what about my set of figures? And they're all different. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the right facts?
I'm picturing those board meetings, and those board meetings, people are engaging with their data through Thoughtspot real time, in a screen or on their iPhone. And some of our customers are already doing that. So there's no hiding. If your numbers are bad, there's no hiding. That requires a cultural shift. And so you used BHAG. So I know you read Jim Collins. It's also about confronting the brutal facts. If the numbers are bad, confront them. What do you do about them?
Well, I suppose also, I'm talking about your personal mission as well. It's also creating a flywheel, isn't it? It's creating a flywheel effect to actually get the momentum around addressing those things you mentioned as well. I suppose that's as you mentioned a bit earlier, that's hopefully the positive thing that comes out of this whole situation that's been going on, is actually people actually do work on stuff that actually does help the world and help the economy and helps people, rather than just actually it running away with itself in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So, wow. So in terms of your kind of your journey, I mean, thanks for sharing your stories and some of the things you've been doing and you are doing. I suppose if people listen to this episode and they're just embarking on their journey, or they're maybe way through their journey, what would be your kind of guidance, advice, insights, thoughts that you've come across that if you were kind of sharing that with the wider audience, what would you say?
Yeah, so nothing's impossible. I do like Mick Ebeling's book and work, Not Impossible Labs. Just because it hasn't been done before, why not you? Why not you to work on it to change the world? You might be the first. And the second, so use your imagination. Use your imagination, believe in the impossible, and make it happen. If I work a problem from every angle, and only when I have exhausted every angle do I give up and say, okay, it's not my time, not my problem, not a good problem. The second thing I would say is, and I don't know if this is uniquely a female habit, or I know men also grapple with this, but maybe women grapple with it more, is we are our own worst critics. We over criticize ourselves and sabotage ourselves and our self-confidence. So don't be so hard on yourself would be my other advice.
Are you speaking that from personal experience, or are you just observing it? Really?
Totally. Nothing I do is ever good enough. I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Okay. So I better not have any pictures on the wall that are kind of like a certain kind of angle. Otherwise, you'd be straightening them for me.
No, that doesn't bother me in the least. Oh my gosh!
It doesn't. Okay.
It's on my desk. That doesn't bother me. No, but if I give a talk and I forget to say something that I really wanted to say, I will agonize over that and will kick myself and say, darn. Or if there's a customer interaction and it gets heated, as when you're pushing change, things will get heated because people feel afraid or they want to protect their area. And I'm just trying to move the organization forward and do what's best for them and help change their thinking. And afterwards, I'll be like, oh, I didn't comfort that person enough, or I missed that signal, and I over agonize. So, like I say, recovering perfectionist. I recognize it.
I've not heard that for a while. That's quite a good one, that is.
Oh, really? Somebody told me, stop thinking about being a perfectionist. Instead of pursuing perfection, pursue excellence. And that I'm good with. That I like. I can do that.
Cool. Any more thoughts? Are those your two big ones?
Those are the big ones. Laugh, decompress, turn those notifications off. I think mine just dinged.
Did it? Okay. Yeah, those damn phones are everywhere. And if they're not a phone, it's a sensor. Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Well, all I can say is thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Andrew, it's been a pleasure. Well, so what's your favorite gin?
Me? Can't you guess?
Let me see. Is it going to be the strawberry rhubarb one that I discovered at Chalmontley Arms?
Ooh. Well, the rhubarb ones are quite nice. No, my favorite one is Monkey 47.
Okay.
Because I can relate to the name of it. The
monkey. Not a plain Gordon's or Hendrix.
Well, no, but you see, the thing is, there's so many different varieties now, and who knows? In 2021, there might be a special G&T sessions, bottle of gin coming your way as part of our swag store. Yeah, G&T sessions hoodies, bottles of gin. The world's our oyster now.
Hang on, you told me this was growth in technology, nothing to do with gin.
Yeah, but you see, you're actually, if I timed it, you're probably one of the few guests who actually got a bottle of gin out. In the earliest time, it's like when they watch the football and it's like, which was the quickest goal? Yeah, it's like Cindi was the fastest to get the bottle of gin on the episode.
Andrew, always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. That was Cindi Howson, who's the Chief Data Strategy Officer of Thoughtspot, and also an all-round legend, and obviously secret gin drinker. But obviously, I'm sure she has some tea and coffee as well sometimes with her lovely husband from Yorkshire. And that was Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. Have a lovely day.